Good evening. Welcome to the Alamance Burlington Board of Education meeting, our evening meeting for the month of May. Just a few announcements before we get started. This board meeting can be seen on Spectrum Channel 5 and 10 on Wednesday, June 14 at 7 p.m. and on Saturday, June 17th at 10 a.m. We have some guests in the audience. We have Stephanie Braxton, Executive Director for Alamance Children for Education, Alamance Citizens for Education, and we have two county commissioners, Mr. Bob Bird and Ms. Amy Gailey. Welcome to all. At this time, let's take a moment of silence and followed by Mr. Mark Payne leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Let's bow our heads.
Please rise. Honor America.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Board members, at this time we have an agenda, a published agenda in front of you. If you looked at your agenda prior to this morning, there was a little switch in there. The one that's published online now is correct, but the board superintendent's comments needed to be after C, the public comments, just to be sure that and we changed that. Okay. Do I hear a motion that we adopt the agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Yeah, motion second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes for the work session and for the last evening meeting online. Do I hear a motion that we approve the minutes from those meetings?
So moved. Second.
Got a motion and second. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? We have one consent item this evening, which is the 2016-17 budget amendment that we said would go on consent agenda for this evening. Do I hear a motion that we accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
Hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Next is recognitions. Ms. Faulkner, welcome.
Okay. Good evening. Just a reminder, this is our last meeting when we have students and staff on campus. The June meeting, everybody will be gone, so this is a celebration for us. The first person I'd like to call up tonight to be recognized is a very important individual, Mr. Coach Mike Williams from Graham High. If he will please come forward. Coach Williams has done something that nobody else has done in this district. And he did it voluntarily. He did it at his own time and effort. He is now a certified athletic administrator with the National Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association. This is a national award. It's an accomplishment. As I said, it was voluntary. It has been strenuous. I would guess it might be like getting national board certification as a teacher. But let me tell you a little bit about Coach Williams. He is a member of the North Carolina Athletic Directors Association. He's a member of the North Carolina Basketball Coaches Association. He's a member of the North Carolina Coaches Association. He is accredited in interscholastic as a coach. He's a certified interscholastic coach, and he is a Heads Up Football certified person. He is a graduate of Elon College and Southern Alamance. He's been inducted into the Southern Alamance Sports Hall of Fame 3 times. Why 3 times? 3 sports?
Twice as an assistant coach for the softball state championships, and then one as my accomplishments.
Congratulations. He has a record in softball that you wouldn't believe. He has got 425 wins. He has coached at the state games and won gold, silver, and bronze multiple times. He's coached at multiple schools, and he's been with ABSS for 36 years. He's the only certified athletic administrator in the district, and we are really proud of you, Coach Williams. Can't we get you to say something? I see his principal back there.
I have my principal, Charlotte Holmes, with me, and my wife, Patty.
Will they please
Yeah.
stand up? Please?
I'd like to thank the administration, the school board members for this recognition. I appreciate it very much.
And for correction, he's known as Coach Willie. And all Coach Williams.
I didn't put that on the certificate.
You can get.
We'll figure that out soon.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Next, we'd like to ask 2 of our Governor's School attendees to please come forward. Sam Cryan and Felix Valdez Sam is from Williams High School and Felix is from Cummings. They'll please come forward. Is it just you tonight, Sam, maybe?
I guess.
It is really hard to get high school students here. Let me tell you about Sam's honor. He will be attending the 2017 Governor's School for North Carolina. This summer is a 5.5-week opportunity. Sam is going in the field of natural science. He's going to study for 6 weeks almost with other students. There are up to 500 students in Governor's School. I think you're going to the East Campus at Meredith College, and you'll be studying the latest and greatest in that field. There are no tests, which is a plus, but it's very rigorous to get into Governor's School. It's not just about your academics, it's also about your community service, about what you've been involved in during school. It's a highly competitive process, so congratulations to you, Sam. We're very proud of you. And we'll make sure Felix gets his certificate. All right. Next, we've got 6 different student scientists, hopefully here tonight, that we would like to honor. So if you are here tonight to be recognized for school science awards at the regional and state level, please come forward. Awesome, everybody's here. So tonight, we are recognizing, like I said, 6 student scientists. These students excelled at the local level, they excelled at the regional level, and they advanced to the state level. So let me tell you who we have. Kenzie Lehue.
Turn it off.
Kenzie is from Smith Elementary. Kenzie's project was Wiping Our Sea Clean. She was the grand prize winner in the ABSS Science Fair, 5th place in the region, and honorable mention at the state. Congratulations. What grade are you in? 4th grade. Awesome. Andrea Hurst?
It's actually Andrea.
Andrea, okay. Thank you for telling me. Andrea, I got it.
I do that all the time.
Awesome.
Girl.
Andrea is from South Mebane Elementary. Her project was the effects of projectile weight versus distance traveled. She was 1st place in the ABSS Science Fair and 8th place in the region. And what grade are you,
I'm
Andrea?
in 4th grade,
Awesome.
and I have my principal and teacher here.
You do?
She's going to be the president.
Where are they? In the back? Awesome.
Adorable is that?
Kenzie, I think you have, wait, come on, get over here. Kenzie, I think you might have a principal here? And parents, maybe? Awesome. Okay. Next we have, Rachel Fogelman and Kirsten Smith.
She's
All right. Rachel, we've got a certificate for each of you, and Kirsten. Rachel and Kirsten, they're from Eastern Alamance. They're in the physical science category. Their project was called Captured Lightning, which sounds really interesting. They're first place in the ABSS Science Fair and second place in the region. Jacob, help me with the last name pronunciation for you. Ciora, okay. Jacob is also from Eastern High School. His project was in the engineering category, and you'll like this title. His project was Which Vine Would Tarzan Trust?
Oh.
Determining the strength of invasives. He won first place in the ABSS Science Fair, second place in the region, and he earned the U.S. Army Silver Medal at the state competition. Congratulations to you. Garner Fleming. Garner is also from Eastern Alamance. Garner's project was in the technology category. His project was the sun's impact on amateur radio communications. Garner earned first place in the ABSS Science Fair, first place in the region, and the NASA award at state competition. So congratulations to all of you. Do you older students have family here?
Yes.
Can they wave? And former principals? Okay, awesome. So who's a senior in the crowd? So what are your plans? Do you plan to pursue a career in science? Are you thinking about it after graduation in a couple of weeks?
Yes, I'm going to NC State on a full ride scholarship, and I'm going to study textiles.
Yay for
Awesome.
textiles.
Garner?
I'm going to VMI to major in electrical and computer engineering on a full ride merit scholarship.
Wow. Way to go.
Congratulations.
Did all of y'all's parents stand? We should always make parents stand.
That's right.
Parents are out there.
Yeah, really.
Congratulations on your accomplishments.
Oh, yeah. She's going to college next year, too.
Next, we have two students, I believe, tonight from the Career and Technical Education Center. If our two students in Skills USA competition would please come forward. Maybe just one. This is Anna Patricia Thomas. Anna recently competed in the Culinary Arts Competition at the State Skills USA that was held in Greensboro at the Curry Convention Center and at the Greensboro Coliseum back in April. Anna won third place in the state in culinary arts. She also earned a scholarship to Johnson & Wales, and I understand you were already accepted to attend Johnson & Wales. Congratulations. I know your principal is here tonight. Do you have family members or a cheering section? Would they please stand up?
Yay.
I see Miss King over there too. She's not standing up, but she needs to stand up too. Teacher Miss King. So what, are you planning to make a career in culinary arts? What's your favorite thing?
I like cooking. And I don't know, I just like the feeling of doing foreign foods, like something that you could taste something new every day. It's something inspiring to me. It's like tasteful, I guess.
So what did you have to do for the culinary arts competition?
We had to debone a chicken, and we had to do the cutlets piece like exactly right. You also had to make a 3-course meal, and then they had to judge you on that. So it's pretty intense. They gave us 2 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations. And I think you're a student at Southern High School
Yes, ma'am.
when you're not at C-Tech.
Yes, ma'am.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Our last recognition for the evening will be with the Western Alamance Robotics team. If they would please come forward. Coaches, advisors, everybody? I don't know.
Did y'all bring a robot?
Oh, yes.
Oh, cool.
So let me tell you, tonight, you're only going to see 2 of the members of the team because the other 3 members are being inducted into the Western Alamance National Honor Society tonight. And the reason these 2 are here is because they're already members of the National Honor Society. So I think we've got Lucian and Samantha tonight. Yeah. While you're getting set up, let me go ahead and talk about your accomplishments. How about that? Okay. So the Western Alamance Robotics team, Team Aperture Science, competed at the state at NC A&T University. They won 2nd place and advanced to the Super Southeast Regional Competition. That was held in Athens, Georgia. They won that 1st place. They set a world record for the most points scored in a match.
Unpenalized.
Unpenalized, okay, that's even more important. And that qualified them to go to world competition, which was held in Houston, Texas. They are ranked 8th in the world out of 2,300 teams. So.
So you mean 8th place on the planet Earth?
Yes, in the world.
Obviously, you're going to have to explain this.
Oh, come on, Mark.
You explain it to me. Okay.
He's driving. Look at Mark.
So the challenge for this year was called Velocity Vortex. So we don't have our entire field here with us, but there would usually be 2 PVC kind of basketball hoop-looking things that we would shoot these balls into. So Lucian will drive forward, sweep up our balls, and then shoot them.
Oh, cool.
Oh, wow.
Got a pretty fast shooter and sweeping mechanism. We shot a lot of balls during our competition. And another big thing in the competition is during endgame, which is the last 30 seconds. So the entire thing is 2.5 minutes, and then the last 30 seconds is the endgame. We're supposed to pick up these yoga balls, and we're supposed to cap them. So it's like having a beach ball on the top of a basketball hoop that'll sit there.
Wow.
And then we have an elevator that'll raise it. And then once it gets to the right height, we'll drop it into the
Basket. Yeah.
So you're both seniors?
I'm the only senior.
You're the only senior? And what are your plans after graduation, Sam?
So I'm going to go to UNC Charlotte. I'm going to major in computer engineering and a minor in math.
Good.
What kind of career field are you interested in after that?
Teaching.
You know, yeah.
No, I mean, mostly I'm trying to focus on like smartphones, designing, or maybe just designing laptops. Pretty much it.
Who gets to take that home over the summer?
So actually, our workshop is at our coach's garage, basically. So we work out of our coach's garage, and this stays at our garage. So we do activities over the summer, what we call outreach, which is similar to this. We go out to local organizations in our community, and we display our robot. So tomorrow night, for example, we will be going to Blessed Sacrament School and showing them our robot and teaching them about robotics and what you can get into as a high school student. To answer your question, it stays at our coach's house at our workshop.
What was your favorite thing about national competition?
So at the world competition, me and Sam both participated in what's called student ambassadors. So us being a highly ranked team, we know a lot about the competition. So we were selected to give tours to the public as well as VIPs. So we had actually 4 competitions going on. We had Lego competitions for kindergarteners, Lego competitions for elementary school students. We had our competition for mainly high school students with 8th grade exceptions, and there was FRC, which is for pure high school students. So us as student ambassadors, we gave tours to the public who wanted to learn more about robotics. And I was even offered to give a tour to the president of Lockheed Martin. They unfortunately didn't show up, so I had to give a tour to the public, which is just as fun, just as fun. But yeah, so I would say that was my favorite experience. Sam, do you want to share one?
So since we've been to Worlds for a few years now, my favorite has always been meeting new people at the team, or seeing all the different teams from the Worlds. I remember the first year we went, I remember a team from Romania. They were pretty cool. And this year there's a few teams from China. They're really cool. They had cool business cards. It's just meeting so many international teams. It's really cool. That's pretty much it.
Now, will the assignment for what the robot can do next year, do you all know what it has to be able to do at this point? Have you started designing anything new? Or?
No. So they have this thing called the kickoff. It's kind of it's in August, sometimes like September, and that's where you go to Cisco and RTP, and then they'll have like a huge unveiling of it. They'll have the field set up, and then that's when you find out what the challenge is, and then you can start from there.
Can I make a suggestion? Maybe build one that can catch a 90-pound, 1-year-old boxer when he's found out he has to have a bath and bathe him. It's, family here, friends,
Yay.
they have to stand.
Very good.
Amazing.
Where'd you get those shorts?
So this is actually our team uniform. Sam obviously forgot hers.
Are those cards on your, are your socks cards? What are they?
I have special socks. They're supposed to be like bionic legs.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Cute.
since our team is named after science, we have sort of a space technology theme. So that's why we went with the Galactical Shorts pattern.
That's cool.
You need some Galactical shorts.
That'd be a great school uniform. What do y'all think?
If I can give you certificates, they sort of have their hands full. This is Miss Wu. She is the team advisor from Western High School. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you so much.
Once again, congratulations, you're world champions. 8th in the world.
That's amazing.
But you'll get one of Cheshire Goats.
I need to get one and pick up dirty clothes off the floor.
That's what I was.
Do the laundry, the Jetsons. I know, just waiting.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Galactical shorts.
I fly RC airplanes.
At this time, we'll begin our public comments. Let's give these folks just a moment to clear the room.
There's the drunken uncle back there.
What?
Yeah, our youngest boxer. He's huge, strong.
I have 5 forms for public speakers tonight. And I think I've heard all of you speak here before, so just remind everyone that is speaking that to come to the podium and state your name, and we'll begin the timer at that point. That's obviously on the screen now. It's also be in front of you on the podium. And you'll have 3 minutes, and And I think, I'm not going to go through all the rules because you've spoken before, and I think you've been with us before and know what our rules are. So first I have Stephanie Braxton. Welcome, Stephanie.
I get to follow the robots. Great.
Oh, pull the mic down.
That is better. Yeah, can you hear me? Okay. Mr. Van Pelt, Mrs. Gant, Dr. Harrison, Board, thank you for allowing me a couple of minutes to speak to you tonight. Webster's definition of visionary is someone or something that thinks about the future or advancements in creative and imaginative way. A person who is ahead of his time and who has a powerful plan for change in the future is an example of a visionary. On behalf of the staff and Board of Directors of Alamance Citizens for Education, I am here tonight to thank you for being that example for our public schools. It's what you were elected to do. Despite the challenges and difficulties you have faced, it is obvious you all have come together to make a bold statement for our teachers and their students. Thank you for constructing a strategic plan built on the vision created by elected officials, employees, parents, and other community members, moving our schools in a positive, productive direction. Thank you for promoting specialized programming in all our schools, creating opportunities that can meet the interests of all our students. Thank you for paying attention to the facility needs where those programs take place. Thank you for continuing to tackle the many problems that plague our public education system. You must continue to be bold and remember why you are all here. Stand strong and know that we are behind you. You've done your job, and now it's time for your community to do theirs. We will call, we will mail, and we will directly speak to our county commissioners, urging them to fully fund your strategic plan. More funding is crucial to achieve the vision for a great public school system. There are over 22,000 children counting on all of us.
Next is Karen Gee.
Karen G.
G. I'm sorry, Karen G.
That's okay, we answered a Gee. Hi, I'm Karen G, and I'm the mom of 3. 2 are graduates of Williams High School, and 1 is finishing his sophomore year. My oldest is back and teaching at Williams. And in the 18 years that I've had a student in this system, we've been having the same discussions. And as we've had these discussions, problems have continued to grow. It is so exciting to me as a citizen of this county that we finally have a plan in place. A plan that makes sense, a plan that moves us forward. I appreciate your boldness on this issue. Please keep fighting. Please continue to move forward. Please don't stand still, because your boldness is admirable. And to the county commissioners who are present tonight, I expect you to be bold as well. The fact that there are 2 commissioners who refuse to listen to and even consider another point of view is frustrating, to say the least. The buzz around town is that there's one commissioner whose goal at this time is to be reelected. And I would like to say to you, if your goal is to be reelected, then do something bold. Step up and show the people of Alamance County that you support education and you understand the link between what Dr. Harrison and the board are requesting and the successful future of our county. I'm a registered Republican and I'm fiscally conservative, but I have 0 problems with you voting to fully fund education in our county. You cannot make a plan, see if it works, and then fund it. You have to make a plan, fund it, and watch it work. I have confidence in each one of you. Whether I voted for you or not, whether I know you personally or not, I know you will keep fighting for our students and teachers, and I will do the same because they deserve it. Thank you.
Brian Boylston.
Hi, my name is Brian Boylston. First, I just want to say, I don't know if anybody noticed, but we had 8 science and technology students, and 5 of them were girls. Or
great.
5 of them, that's pretty good. That's pretty good, I think. So I just wanted to share some of my impressions with you tonight about the vision plan and the strategic plan as someone who was part of the team who helped to put together the vision plan several years ago. First, I want to say thank you to the school board and the administration. One of our concerns coming out of there from the vision planning process was whether or not there was the political will and the institutional will to actually follow through and do something. And I think that from my perspective, we've certainly made good progress in that direction, right? We've got a strategic plan, and it's and we're executing on it, right? And we're trying to make the vision a reality. So I do appreciate that. Also want to quickly thank Dr. Harrison he provides updates on the vision plan and the progress they're making, and that I don't attend every meeting, but I do read the emails, and when there's other material available, I do review it, so I appreciate that. So one of the parts of the vision plan was that we would prepare our students to live, work, lead, and govern not only locally but nationally and globally. I hope that most of you are aware that Elon Elementary has been, for the last 2 years, working hard on a global initiative. And it shows itself in some interesting ways. A year ago, one of my sons was playing with his Legos, and I asked him what he was building, and he told me he was building the Taj Mahal. Okay. I mean, not that we wouldn't talk about the Taj Mahal, but I know that we hadn't, so I know that came from the global program at Elon. Just the other day, we were out, and they were going through the letters of the alphabet, and for every letter, they were trying to name a country or a city or something, and they were coming up with Zimbabwe and Venezuela and these other places. So we're making progress, I think. Something else that was part of the vision plan was community and engaging the community. And Elon is doing that through a partnership with Elon University. The dining services is providing international food meals for the students at Elon as part of the global program. So I think that's really good. And a third part that we had in our vision plan was that we become a national model. And Elon has had so many outside people visit the school that I've lost track. I mean, not only from North Carolina, but there was a whole crew of people came from Houston Independent School District, which is one of the largest school districts in the country. Quickly, I would say it's bearing fruit already, and I would encourage you to continue to push, and especially to seek the funding that you think is necessary to fulfill the vision. Thank you.
Ariel Hogarth, welcome.
Good evening, my name is Ariel Hogarth. I'm a 12-year social studies teacher at Eastern Alamance High School, and I also serve as the president of the Alamance Burlington Association of Educators. I come before you all tonight for my very last board meeting as president, and as a member of ABSS. I will be relocating this summer because I'm getting married. So I'm very happy to be here and very happy to say a few things to you guys on my way out the door, even though I'm not leaving till the end of June. To Dr. Harrison, to the school board, to our central office staff, you have kept this school system moving in a progressive direction, and we as teachers, parents, students can't thank you enough. I want to also thank you for your open door policy. Whether I have actually been in your office or I have grabbed you somewhere and said, hey, I've got an issue, or emailed you, or you all have had your eyes and ears open for us in every way, and we really, really appreciate that. But we have to keep doing that, because not everybody believes that central office is here for us. But my role and my interaction with you all has helped me understand that you are here for us, and we really, really appreciate it. So please continue to listen and engage us and support us. I've had a really great experience with you all, and I hope every future educator continues to as well. To parents, business leaders, and teachers out there, I want to tell you to be in the know. Don't believe everything that floats around outside on social media or from people that weren't in this room. I encourage you to come. It's the last Monday of every month. It stinks giving up a few extra hours on a Monday night, but it's well worth your time, because then you're in the know. You hear it from the people who are making the votes. You hear it from the people that are making the decision at the central office. You hear it from the community members that want to be engaged. Be in the know and be here. Don't just show up when you hear that something might be happening. Show up at one Monday a month and be in the know, because they will listen to you. We just have to do it together. And last, I would like to appeal to my teachers to continue to use central office as a resource, to continue to use your voice to do what's best for our students. A lot of times we get in our four walls, and we like to just do what's in our four walls, and we're uncomfortable with change or reaching out, or I'll just control what I can control and everything outside doesn't matter anymore. We're past that. Everything outside impacts everything inside, and these people are here to help us. So it can be it can be scary, it can be uncomfortable, but be active, be part of the team, because you can join the Alamance Burlington Association of Educators. You can apply for the Teacher Leadership Academy through Impact Alamance, which is amazing. You can attend the meetings. You can be engaged and send emails and letters, and you can be part of this team. So I would encourage everybody to get on board. I would encourage everybody to support Alamance Burlington Schools, and I would encourage everyone to come out June 5th. At the Graham County Courthouse, right in the downtown square. We're meeting at Graham Middle School at 5:30, and we're going to walk in solidarity to the meeting on June 5th, and hope for the best for fully funding public education. So, thank you.
Thank you. And last, Tara Raggett. Welcome, Tara.
Be a buck for an extra minute. Usually I have something really well planned, and I threw together some stuff real quick tonight. Who are the teachers here tonight? Was today crazy or what? I'm done. All right, so school board members, I think tonight's your night because I'm here. Thank you. I always try and hit people in the community with the fact that with the quadfecta, and the fact that I'm a homeowner, citizen now of Alamance County, a parent, a teacher, and a coach. So I'm invested in these schools on a lot of different levels. And again, I'm here to thank you. You put a plan together to support, you put a budget together to support a plan, a strategic plan, which took several years to put into place. If you view the plan and you look at the data and updates about it, you could see that we have great success with it. But please continue your work. We sent out a facilities team, and the facility teams spend a couple of hours, couple of days throughout the school year in the school buildings. We have heard from teachers who work for and advocate the students that work in the buildings with them. But I still do not believe we hear enough from the students. We walk in and out of the schools, but the students are the one that receive the ABSS experience. And I use that word strategically. We're not just giving them an education, we're giving them an educational experience. It's not just about sitting in the classroom. I asked my daughter, who's a senior at Southern Alamance High School, to send out a text to her friends. And she sent out a senior thread. What they could change, if there are just a few things they could change for their school. One student said to give Casey Raggett's mom a raise. I don't know, but we'll get to that later. But one student said she wished she had locks on the bathroom door. Another one said that they wanted a new smart board because there were white dots on the smart board. And a friend corrected that student, said, well, no, that's because the blinds are old and the light's coming in. And another student said, I just wish that when it was in the wintertime and when it rained, I had somewhere to go inside for lunch. This is their educational experience. These are the things that they're taking with them. And the big thing is that these kids are also going to be voting in the next election. So I'm asking you to please continue to lead, because they're going to come back and they're going to vote, and these are a different set of kids. Again, my daughter within 30 minutes had 7 pages worth of tweets, or whatever the kids are calling it these days. But they're going to be looking for you to continue to lead, either making changes for their siblings and quite possibly their children. And they're going to need that leadership from you. So again, thank you. I have one challenge. We know we want this budget fully funded, and we know we're getting a lot of pushback from that. My challenge for you is to ask the powers that be, if we're not going to fully fund the school budget now, when are we going to do it? What is the plan to do that? So that's it. Again, thank you very much.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is board superintendent comments, and I'll start this, and let's just go down to my left, Allison, Tony, and Pam, and then come back up, Brian, and then Dr. Harrison will finish it up. I've got several things here. Just first three are reminders. Board, our next meeting is a work session on June the 5th at 12:30 p.m. Three things that we need to look at then. We'll need to have a talk about the superintendent search, perhaps which firm or how we're going to do that. We will look at the ACC trustee, make a decision on that, and you all should have had the 4 letters from the 4 citizens that are interested in being a trustee. And also there'll be the presentation on restorative justice, which will kick off the meeting at 12:30. We'll put that first on the agenda, and that's going to last, what, Pam, about 2.5 hours?
No longer than that, probably 2, but.
Okay. And we'll move forward from there, and I'm sure there'll be more on the agenda, but those are 3 big things that are on the June work session. A couple comments from me, and I think it's been already spoken, to let our commissioners know, parents and other community members, that we have a budget hearing on June the 5th at 7 p.m. at the historic courthouse. Is that correct, Bob and Amy? It's at the historic courthouse.
There's discussion about moving it to Williams, but I think an official announcement may be made tomorrow.
Okay.
And the rent is $2.5 million.
That's pretty good.
So if you want to speak or write letters and let the commissioners know how you feel, please do so. I know that there's been letter writing parties in the community and by citizens, and I've been asked a lot about this, and I'm certainly encouraging that. The second thing I have, the News and Observer and the Charlotte Observer had some articles this past weekend on AIG students and students that were scoring level 5 on their end of grade test, and how much of a correlation there was between students that were not in poverty versus those that were in poverty. I've only got to read one of the 3 articles, but it was very interesting. A lot of good data was supplied from across the state, but it seems like if you're at level 5, your chances of getting into AIG are a lot stronger than if you're a student that's considered in poverty or on free and reduced lunch. The chances are not quite as good. I'm proud to say that after looking at AVS's percentages, that we're doing pretty good. Our neighbors over in Guilford County are doing the best in the state. But there's a lot of school systems across North Carolina that are not doing nearly as well. There seems to be a strong correlation between whether you get an AIG or not based on how well your family is doing financially. So I think it's interesting. I think it's well worth the read and the time to do it. And if I can find that link, I happened to find it on Facebook, but I had heard about it prior to that. The third thing, I attended on Saturday, May 13th, the multi-categorical, let me see if this come out right, multi-categorical handicapped seniors celebration for their upcoming graduation. It was held at the old Woodlawn School on Mebane Rogers Road, and the 12 or 13 students that were there were truly warmed my heart. They're really excited about getting out in the world and doing what they're able to do. These are students that attend, I think, most of our high schools, and they have some real challenges in life, from physical and mental handicapped. So I think we need to remember those students, and that they'll be graduating in our high school's graduation ceremonies coming up next month. And that's all I have to say. It's probably enough.
I just want to thank the community that came out tonight to share their thoughts with us about our budget plan and our desire to fully fund education. I think Tara makes a great point, if not now, when. So thank you for that challenge, and hopefully we can speak with our commissioners and be able to come to a understanding that's going to be beneficial to all. So thank y'all very much for coming out tonight.
Well, not to be redundant, but I did want to say thanks to the Karen and Bob and everyone that spoke tonight, not just tonight, but at the last commissioners meeting, and hopefully the upcoming commissioners meeting. I remember Brian mentioned the committee, the vision plan, and I remember as board members we kind of stayed out of that, but we did attend the meeting, and I remember all the community members for 3 hours every 3 weeks for the whole school year. There's a lot of work that went into that plan, and it was an excellent product because there was so much work that was put into it, and Bob was there, and Allison was there, and a lot of people were there and did that work, and so it was really it was very neat then as a board member to see the community coming together to put that together, but now it's very nice to see the community rallying around and letting everyone know in the decision-making process that this is meaningful. So I remember, Brian, the folks in the room saying, what's going to become of this, and what will the board do with this, and we really took that to heart, and so it's nice to be where we are, and I think we're at a pivotal point in the county to demonstrate that the public wants our school system to be able to move forward, and so we're there, and I appreciate so much the community getting behind what's happening here. So thanks to you guys and to everyone that's been involved.
Well, I just think back to how this year started off when we started talking about rezoning. And I think about the literal fear that I saw on the faces of moms and dads and children, and just the real battles that we as a board and as a community had to go to not only even think about it, but to accept it. Accepting it's the hard part. And I've watched us get over a lot of really big humps about that, because all of that was just from fear. Fear is so powerful. It can just run everything and rule everything. And I watched some really brave parents man up and just really say, we're going to do this. We're going to work together. You know, we also did grandfathering. We thought about things like that, because this is not easy. The last thing this board member ever wants to do is put tears in a kid's eyes. And I know school is life and death when you're that age. It really is. And I just think about how far we've come, and how many Post-it notes that was used during the strategic plan, and how many people give up their days of work to volunteer, and because they were leaders or because they were good people, they were moms and dads, they were family, but how many people really sacrifice their time to really put an effort into making this county what it so can be. When I was at a meeting the other week, I met Mark Johnson, the superintendent, and I about burned his ears off his head telling him about this school system, and invited him to come here. He's coming, and really tell him about all the things that we do. And I'm so proud to not just be on this board, because this comes and goes, but to be a parent. I've graduated 3 wonderful kids from Williams that had amazing teachers. I couldn't have paid for that any better. But we're at a point right now where the fear can set right back in. And I think as leaders, if you're like me, I watch the news every day, and I'm to the point where I'm talking to the television, and I'm yelling at the television, and I watch parties just go back and forth, and they've gotten so caught up in going back and forth that they're not focusing on what they're there to do. And I think as a leader, I've always said this, you got to really be willing to take a hit. You got to be willing to lose if you ever decide to run for office again, as long as you're doing the right thing for what it is that you represent. And I'm all about children. I'll go to bat and go to war for children any day. The day we had our mental health summit, Patsy and I were there, and you would have thought we won the lottery by having all these people around the table, because they were literally just asking us, how can we help your kids? And that's collaboration. That is community. You can't buy community. It is in your very soul. It is in your very heart. And I see how far we've come, and I think and I'm here as a Republican. I don't know what y'all think Republicans are. I don't know what they are either. But I'm a hot mess when it comes to wanting stuff for kids, because I'm going to go for it in a minute. And I remember my superintendent says the first time he's ever had a Republican to tell him to ask for more money. And it wasn't asking for more money. It's finally meeting these goals. We do all this stuff, we work to get to a point, and then we idle. If you're idling, you're not going forward. You're going backwards. I don't care who will tell you any different. And I think about, we've got these goals, and we have them in sight, and we've got an amazing faculty and staff and leadership that I truly just love as human beings. And we're so close. And I hear people, and they say, well, when I was in school, good Lord, I had a 68 Volkswagen that Mike Williams, that's the coach, borrowed to Skip to go to get a hot dog one day at the baseball field. I wouldn't tell him why he's here, but I know him. He's an amazing guy, but he did borrow my car. But what I'm trying to say through all of this is we can't blow this. We cannot blow this because we work so hard. Children are counting on what we say we want to do for them. Teachers are counting on what we say we want for them. We talk about a supplement, back it up. We've got to do and accomplish what we say that we want to do and that what we need to do. And we cannot be afraid to do anything. If this whole 7 people are never here again, ever, I hope it goes down in history that we never quit. We never backed down. We never sold one kid out, because they're all priceless. They are our future. A lot of people stand up for children every day. There are so many coaches that are parents to so many children. There are so many teachers that clothe so many children. There are so many situations that none of us know that go into a school. School is so not about math and science anymore, but it's supposed to be. And we can have it all because we love our kids, we love our parents, but the word all is what it's going to take. And I just encourage any board member that's elected, any commissioner that's elected, because they're all really good people, that we don't have any fear, that we're not willing to drop it a little bit, lower our standard, because I'm going to tell you something. When you lower your standards, that's exactly what you get. If we want world class, we got to act like it, we got to be like it, and we've got to get it. And whatever it takes, that's what we have to get and do and say what we mean and mean what we say. And I just encourage any of us that are part of this, that we do not change our mind, that we do not get weak, that we do not cower to anything that anybody may say and throw in our faces, because our job has got 23,000 names on it, and nothing else matters. That's the most important thing we can do. And if we're never on these walls again, that is fine with me. But every parent's going to know that Pamela Thompson gave everything she had to make sure every little set of feet walks in every school. The paint's not peeling, there's not mold, the toilets are working, there's doors on the bathroom. If y'all like to go to the bathroom, wide open, not me. Everything they have. The thing that a kid sits out in the rain and eats their lunch, I didn't do that. They shouldn't be doing that either. I don't know why we think that's okay, because it's not okay. Put ourselves in their shoes and expect excellence and demand excellence and act like we're excellent and be excellent. So I just encourage our commissioners to really search their hearts and be the ones that are the true ones that took Alamance County to the next level, the level that everybody says they want, and everybody's going to do what it says that we've got to do it. So I always speak from my heart. I just ramble, but all I know is these children matter. And if we get this and this goes through, this school system better do everything it said it's going to do, nothing else, and do it with excellence. We're putting ourselves in a position where everybody's going to be watching us, and we've got to lead and do like we have never done before, with accountability that's to the sky. And if we don't, then everybody has a reason to say something. But I don't think we will. I know we won't. We've got a great leader. We're leaders, but we got an amazing team that works in the halls of this school system, and we are blessed beyond. And I just think if we all just do what we say we really want and not be afraid to do it, we're going to be there. I want everybody to want to be just like us. Just like us. Sorry, I didn't mean to ramble.
Thank you, Pam. I know you said that from your heart.
I'm next.
Brian.
I think unfortunately, I have to follow that. Pam, you were not rambling. Thank you for those comments. Couldn't have said it any better, and certainly subscribe to all of those. So, and thank you for your leadership as well. I also, a bit redundant, but not only want to thank the folks that spoke up tonight, but the amazing display of the spirit of our community around support for public education at the commissioner meeting. The diversity of speakers from national industry leaders to students in our schools, to teachers, private citizens, young and old. The amazing array that truly reflects our community was there, saying that they support public education and willing to advocate and talk to their neighbors and tell their county government what they think about the sacrifices that we all know would need to be made, but at the time that we are at an inflection point is now to support this strategic plan and fund public education. So I was very proud that night, and it is extraordinarily humbling that each one of our speakers tonight thanked us as a board. None of us expect that, or at this point right now feel like we are deserving of your thanks. It is you are deserving of our thanks for each one of your leadership and your advocacy and everything that you do. So right back at you, to all of you that spoke tonight. Thank you. Ms. Hogarth, at the risk of singling one person out, we wish you nothing but the best as you move on, and congratulations. Your advocacy, your leadership, your selfless servant spirit is humbling, it is inspiring, and this county, the school system is going to miss you. To say that we're going to miss you is an understatement. So thank you for everything that you have done, not only for your students, for your school, but the entire system and county. We wish you nothing but the best as you move on, but know that you always have a place here, and hope that you would come by whenever you are in town. So thank you to all of you for what you do in support of public education. We really appreciate it. And we're working on getting you and every other teacher in this county the raise that we promised would be forthcoming. We're working on that as much as we can. One thing that Ms. Hogarth said is that coming to meetings like tonight, she said, quote, you will be in the know. So you can pick up news, you can get information secondhand, but if you come, you can be in the know. So tonight's lesson in be in the know, I would talk a little bit about numbers. Dr. Harrison, when he presented our budget request, it was about $8 million, and some would call that bold, and others would call that extreme, but every one of those items publicly available, grounded in the strategic plan, and deserving of investment to move us forward. So close to $8 million. Certainly a lot of money, make no doubt about it. The county manager's first budget draft, as presented in that last meeting, was $2.7 million. Again, a lot of money. But $2.7 million is a far cry from the $7.8 million that was requested. But here's the thing to be in the know. An estimated $2.3 million of the $2.7 million increase that this school system would receive goes directly to fixed costs, inflationary items, and other non-funded mandates and requirements put on us as a system by the state. So nearly 85% of the current budget increase that ABSS would receive, we have no flexibility of how it would be spent. There it is. That leaves just $400,000 to fund all of these items in the budget increase. Teacher salary supplement, a 1% increase. far from extreme. Assistant principals and principal salary supplement, 1%, far from extreme. Leadership within our school system. A raise for our a scheduled pay increase for our classified employees. Specialized programs that are moving the dial and drawing in families and investment and jobs to this county. A custodial and bus driver initiative that would fix real issues in how our kids get to school and the quality of schools once they get there. A digital learning initiative that would put Chromebooks on a 1-to-1 scale across our school system, and needed investments in our music programs. $400,000 to fund all of those things that have a $6.4 million price tag to them. So we're not talking about the need to prioritize or to pick and choose from a wish list. Once you take those fixed cost items out of that increase, that's what you're left with. So to be in the know, just realize that anybody saying that a $2.7 million increase or a 7% year over year is extreme is just not looking at each one of these items and doing an analysis and a judgment. Budgets are moral documents. We can pick and choose, but we need to figure out what we're not going to fund at an extraordinary level, because $400,000 does not fund all of those things. So it'll be time to look at that much more closely. It is indeed a lot of money. $2.7 million increase on our budget, 7% year over year. But it will not at all move the dial on our strategic plan. The school system will receive more money, but it will not move the dial on our strategic plan.
Thank you. Mark?
Thank you, Brian. Brian is, I enjoy he gets into all that statistical stuff and all, but I'm gonna go kind of in the other direction. I taught band for 31 years and gave several hundred concerts in that time frame. Especially in the middle school concerts, almost every concert I gave, somewhere in there, I asked the parents or told the parents that, always that I appreciated their support, but the main thing that I wanted them to remember, because, music, the instruments, the supplies, the repairs, lessons, all of that's very expensive, and all of that money is out of pocket for the parents and for the families. But I would always tell the parents, say, look, money spent wisely on a child is never wasted. Some of the seeds that you plant in kindergarten or 5th grade or 9th grade, you will not see any of those results, not even in high school. But 4 or 5 or 10 years down the road, all of those things come together in well-rounded, great adults who are part of a community that can give back just like they were given to. And we talk a lot about our vision, but I'm going to tell you something right now. An unfunded vision in my neck of the woods is called a hallucination. It doesn't work. And we've got to think about the fact that you have a school system already that is squeezing every dime. Before I was on the board a couple of years ago, I had never really seriously looked at a school budget, and now that I've seen the budgeting process in this school system, I can tell you right now, there is very little, there's no wiggle room. There is no wiggle room. Every dime is being squeezed in every department, in every school, in every classroom. And I just want you to know that as a board, we insist on that. We're going to insist on that same process continuing. But we've done everything that we can possibly do from this end. And now we listen tonight to this community support that's all around us. And it's time for the leap. We need to make sure that this is a vision and not a hallucination. And so, The one thing that I would ask is that anyone who has anything to do with appropriating money for our school system, take a minute the next time you're out shopping and you see some kids walking towards you and you see 5 kids, pick one of them that you think, you know, hey, if I fail that child, that's okay. There's 4 that did okay. Who out there that's a thinking, caring person would ever conceive of failing a child? Not just your own child, any child. Who could conceive of that? And that's what we're trying to get to on this day, in this year.
Patsy.
Okay, one of the first things I jotted down was I wanted to thank ABAE and especially Ariel. I think during my tenure on this board, you're probably the 4th, if not the 5th, president of your organization. And I wanted to just say that you're special. You have really been special. You have really partnered with this board to do the right thing for our teachers, to support our teachers, and to support us as a board, and to support the system as a whole. And that's a little bit different than what we've seen in the past. You're such a strong advocate for our systems, for the people that you represent, which is mostly the teachers and the students. And I just can't say enough to thank you. It really saddened me a few months ago when I heard that you would be leaving, and I think something over the weekend popped up where new officers were elected, and I was going, oh, who's going to be the president now? I just want to say thank you, because you have reached out to not only the school system. I've seen you at NAACP meetings. I've seen you at all kinds of community meetings, and you have just really helped this school system establish a bridge or a pathway so that everybody's voice can be heard. And I sincerely want to thank you and your organization, and I hope that we can continue to work with ABAE as we have done in the past. One of the other things that I've been thinking about, just want to remind everybody, if you haven't had an opportunity yet, if you're on Facebook or some form of social media, if you haven't had an opportunity to listen to the graduation or commencement exercise this past weekend at Elon University with Dr. Lambert, I would encourage you to really take that opportunity to do so. He talked about the importance of education, early education, and just going out into whatever your community is and to help serve and to realize how important education is to in making a community. So I would encourage you to do that. And then the last thing, about, a month ago, yes, I called into the local radio station, WBAG, and because I was a little bit upset with some of the communications that was going on in regards to the school budget and what was going on, and I gave them a challenge, and I said to them, I have sat down and I've looked at the document that Dr. Harrison gave us that outlines everything in our budget, and I said, I challenge anyone listening to my voice today to please give me a call, and I will sit down with you, and I want you to tell me what you would cut. As Brian was saying, it's only after you go through all the increases that we have no control of, when you really look at the bottom line, it's very few dollars. And I say to you then, we as a community approved that strategic plan. We knew it was going to cost. And I said, what would you do? What would you cut? And I'm still trying to find an answer. I've been on this board, I guess, second, the longest tenure other than Steve. And I remember when I was on this board and we had, what do you call that fund? Fund balance.
Fund 8.
And they said, the county commissioners didn't like it. Fund balance was so high. You got $20-some million. And it got to the point where they mandated that we have a fund balance spend down plan, I think is what it was called. And we looked at all our needs and said, yeah, you know, we've been saving this money, but in doing so, we neglected, you know, technology, and we neglected so many other things. So we did what they asked us to do. We spent the money, and we gave them the plan, kept them updated. Well, now they have a reserve account, and it exceeds 25, I don't know, the last time I heard it was way up in 25 million, but it's much larger than what the, state, local government requires them. They approved and they know about our strategic plan. So what I say to you is, what is your spend down plan? And how will you use that money to address the strategic plan that you've agreed with the school system that this is what we need to do? So if it's not a matter of you wanting to increase taxes, then go to your reserve plan. That's how you can show that you truly believe in funding public education. And then one other thing happened, and I'm going to finish. As y'all know, I'm a foster parent. I have a lot of children that come in and just haven't been exposed. I mean, kids that's never been to Greensboro. I mean, can you just really take that in now? Kids who've never gone to Greensboro, 30 miles up the road, took one little fella to the beach, Wilmington. And if you could have seen the expression of putting the toes in the sand, hearing the ocean, seeing the ocean. And I thought about field trips. I've been on field trips with my kids. We go to Wilmington. And I thought about, this is why we're redistricting. This is why we're doing so much of what we're doing. Because we don't want little boys and girls out there like that, who don't know what the sand feels like, who don't know what the ocean feels like, more or less know what that robotic thing is there. That's what's happening. We have children like that in our community, people. It takes money. And you know what? To say to us, I need to see a statistical outcome. I need to see that you fulfilled your goal and that you're going up. Well, take those little children to the beach. And you may not need to see numbers, because numbers don't tell you everything. It's that smile and the look on that child's face when you expose them to education. And you can't measure everything by an outcome with numbers. And the last thing is to my fellow board members. Yeah, I get really emotional about that. But we have transfers coming up. And y'all know how I feel about transfers. And I think we've gotten over the hump with the accelerated plan and with the redistricting that's coming up. And we're going to have children in new schools next year. And I say I don't know how many transfers we have, but we're all going to give up our times over this summer. And I want you to think about it when you look at those little boys and girls who are going along with our plan and going to their new schools next year. And then when those come in, with all these reasonings that we hear year after year, I want you to remember those little boys and girls whose family is doing what we asked them to do, and that is to get on the bus and go in another direction. And I think we'll have a successful transfer process. Thank you.
Dr. Harrison.
I want to yield my time to my friend Job Williamson. Job is a junior, hopefully a rising senior at Williams High School. He does plan on finishing high school and going to a university and majoring in political science, and Job's gotten off to a great start in being a politician. His interests are to make Williams a great high school and to make his peers better as the years go on. Job has a real spirit of service. He's been a member of his student council for the past 3 years. He's presently junior class president, and he's been elected student body president for next year. He's in the marching band, the jazz band, serves on the superintendent's advisory council, and has an internship at the Burlington Rec and Parks Department and at Creative Directions, and is the NAACP Youth Chapter President of Alamance County. And I have a story that I have to tell on Job every time I see Job or get in front of a group of people. Pam mentioned our redistricting, and when we were going through the redistricting and the series of public forums, and a lot has been written and said about me, and I shared with our Student Advisory Council the process of redistricting, why we were doing what we were doing, and why I made some of the decisions. He looked at me and he says, "Don't worry, Dr. Harrison, not everybody in the county hates you." So he's my friend, Job.
Let's clarify. I didn't mean it that way when I said it. It came out like that, and right when I said it, I said, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean it."
Well, and to think that's what his friends say about it.
Hey, I told you, you only need half, right?
That's right.
To Dr. Harrison and the board, I am honored to be here tonight. I am honored to stand in front of all you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for yielding your time. Tonight I want to talk to you and say thank you to Dr. Harrison for being here, for helping us change this school system for what it is now. I don't think we could have done that without you. We will really miss you. I will. Every advisory board meeting was very fun, as you can tell. I would like to say also another thank you for letting me be on the advisory board meeting. I know it was a lot of people was picked, and I'm glad my name was one of them. I had a great time sitting with different councils from every school. I listened, which is a hard thing for me. I usually have to talk. And we talked about a lot of things that's going on in our schools. And to get those kind of educations and try to get those kind of mindsets of a student that you usually can't get from a teacher, because a teacher doesn't hear everything, it doesn't know everything sometimes. But when you hear a student says, "Hey, Dr. Harrison, we have a problem going on with bullying, and we want to know if you can help us out," it's a very big deal. And he has challenged us throughout the whole meeting to bring up some ideas of what we can do in our school system, what we can do in our schools, as well as what we can do in our classrooms and for ourselves. And I thank you for that. To the board, it's Ms. Thompson.
We're like this.
Yeah, she always does this to me. Thank you for supporting our superintendent. Thank you for supporting our student councils. As you know, that Dr. Harrison is a very big supporter of every student councils and all the student councils, because I believe his daughter was very big in student councils. I'm honored to be in the student council I am in now at Williams, and under the direction of Ms. Robin Farber. I thank you for her. Board, thank you also again for supplying us with buses to go to Mars Hill. If you don't know what Mars Hill is a university first. Let's clarify. They are a university. They're open 24/7, and they have yielded about 1 week, 5 days for student councils, student governments across the whole entire state. That's a big thing. I believe that when Mr. John Temple was here teaching at Williams High School as the Latin teacher, he was a very big part. And I went to the state convention in Raleigh at Leesville High School, where the superintendent there used to be superintendent here. Merrill, I don't know. Yeah, Merrill, I forgot his name. Sorry, it's hard. And I was going down this, and I saw that Mr. Temple also hosted a state convention and had a president who was in the state in the Association for Student Councils, who was the president, and he hosted a state convention. And for the past few years, Williams has missed out, but we have started back getting on that track of making sure that Williams High School, that Eastern Alamance, that Cummings, Graham, and also other schools in this community get back on that track of being in the National Association of Student Councils. And we thank you, Dr. Harrison, for bringing that up for us, and we thank you for giving us the supplies to do that. Also, one more thing, we have a conference about once or so, maybe out of a year, maybe 2 times a year, that has the local student councils, and we go around and we give great ideas about things we can change in our schools. We have slideshows that show things that each school is doing, and that's a great educational point also to try to learn from each council, because every council is different. And we thank all the public for whoever, if you have a student, that comes to either schools, we thank you for bringing them to this Alamance County, and we thank you for being great parents, great teachers, great administrators, like Ms. Hunt, my principal now, and like Dr. Farrell, my old principal.
There you go. Always back.
There I go again. See, I didn't mean it like that. I meant to say former. Thank you. yield my time back. Thank you.
Could I just make a comment? I've just met you tonight, but I just love you to pieces. You're one of the most special young men I've met in a long time, and you really represent the vision of the school system and of this country. And in Proverbs 29:18, it says, "A people without a vision will surely die," and we need to take that really serious. We are right there. Let's really go for it. Thank you, young man. Anytime you need anything, you call Tony.
And thank you for stepping up the other night and speaking at the county commissioner meeting. You did a really nice job.
I was honored to be there.
Thank you for being there.
Dr. Harrison, do you have anything else?
I do not.
Okay, well, let's move on with the agenda. Next is, we have Dr. Kevin Kastner with BWP and Associates and his cohort, is it Mr. or Dr. Harris?
Dr. Harris.
Dr. Harris. But welcome, gentlemen, and we will give you our attention for the next while.
Mr. Chairman, Madam Vice Chair, members of the board, Dr. Harrison. I'm Wayne Harris. I am one of two associates. We work for BWP, a national superintendent search firm located in Libertyville, Illinois. Let us set your mind at ease. We don't live in Illinois. I live in Roanoke, Virginia. Dr. Kastner lives in Albemarle County, which is just outside of Charlottesville, Virginia. And together we have worked over the last 6 years, completing 18 superintendent searches, working with boards, mostly in Virginia, although Dr. Kastner has worked in South Carolina as well as in Pennsylvania. He will share most of the information in a PowerPoint presentation with you tonight, but I want to share with you an observation. This is my first time being in this place and in this county. Over the last 35 years, I can't count the number of times I've been to a school board meeting, either as an area superintendent, as a superintendent, as a member of BWP. And truly, I'm impressed with what I have observed tonight. The comments that have been levied upon you, the board, from the community and from employees, from your student leader, sends a strong message about what you're about. I noted that Goal 4 talks about world-class conditions for teachers in your vision and strategic plan. It would be a pleasure for us to work with you as you carry out what, in our opinion, is your greatest responsibility in governance, and that is in the selection of your next superintendent. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Kastner, who will walk you through the slides. Together, we would be happy to answer any questions, but we would stand ready to assist you as you move forward should you choose us.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I would very much agree with Dr. Harris that impressive, very impressive. I've been to a number of school board meetings too, and it doesn't always go with the type of climate and sharing that you had here this evening. And I think you're going to find when we share a little bit more about the work we do and some of our past experiences that we're in a pretty good position where we might be able to very effectively bring out what you might want during this very important process. When you talk about BWP and where we're going to go, we have had the opportunity after we retired as superintendents. Now, Dr. Harris and I bring probably about 25 years of superintendent experience. The superintendent experience we bring is very valuable in the sense of knowing when you're working with boards and when you're also working with people that will be considering working with your school system and applying there's a great deal of credibility that we have. And you look at the systems across the East Coast, while BWP has over 50 associates across the country, it's best that you know you do have local knowledge. You also, and we have given you a proposal that is available to you that has much greater detail, and when you look at this number of school systems, probably about 7 or 8 we've been invited back the second time. Second time, not because the superintendents have done poorly, but sometimes there's been retirements and sometimes there's been advancements. So you're in a situation when you're going to have other search firms that are going to do very similar work, and they will do fine work for you. Well, the question is, when you're trying to figure out value added, what a national firm can do, and when you have a very good state association. In all of these school systems, there is a good state association in Virginia. Why would we get the work? A lot of it has to do, particularly in your larger systems, that you owe your community an outreach to do a national search. And in doing a national search, I'd have to say that Dr. Harris and I, in our experiences, we do have a national reach. Even the reach here in North Carolina. I had the pleasure of being on the Race to the Top. I was a peer reviewer. I met your superintendent there, and I read the North Carolina book, which is about that thick, twice. I learned a lot about your state. But we also know a lot of your colleagues. I know Randy Bridges. He worked in Virginia, Stafford County. I know Jim Merrill. He worked in Virginia Beach. We worked with him. Wayne knows Larry Crable. Jason Van Euclin came from you to a system. We just promoted him as a superintendent in Virginia. Mark Edwards, Sue Burgess, all people that we work with. So a lot of our associations go beyond just Virginia, and that's critical, particularly when you're trying to get into this. And when you look at these systems, we're talking systems from 2,000 to 60,000. So also, when Dr. Harris and I worked in Maryland for 25 years, worked in Frederick County, 35,000. Wayne was area superintendent in Fairfax County. Fairfax County has 180,000 kids. Also a superintendent in Roanoke, which is 13,000, and Albemarle. So proportion is important when you're talking about your experiences. So while we have flunked retirement, we do have a good background for working at a national level, and we do have relationships across the country. When you would look at our website, you could see where searches have been done in multiple places, and you also will see the number of people that are part of BWP. Now, BWP, the history and all that, has been around since the late 80s and have been involved in many hundred superintendent searches, so we're not new. Wayne and I have been doing this for the last 6 or 7 years, and we really enjoy working with school boards, and an extension of the work that we've done in public education, each of us for over 45 years. What we try to do in any search is tailor it to your community. We try to identify candidates who meet a match. There are many people that might apply that could possibly be very good superintendents, but not for your school system. We want to try to present candidates to the board, and we realize we work for you. We're here to facilitate. We're here to help you do your job as the decision makers. And we feel obligated to be as straight up with you as we can by advising you not always what you want to hear, but what you need to hear in this process. And in this thing, what we want to do is we want to help you find the best candidate. And that best candidate, we will not tell you who that candidate it would be, but we would recommend to you those candidates that meet your profile. We will not rank order them. We will say these candidates will meet your profile, and we will guarantee if it doesn't work, we will do the search over at cost. in the first year or sometimes 2 years if we're asked. We think when you go through a type of process like this, it has to be around community engagement. And the transparency of the community engagement is something that we value very much in showing you the process as we will do it. And we'll get into that in a little bit more detail. We have had the reputation, and you can check with any place we work, of presenting boards highly qualified candidates. Again, we try to work with you, and we should work through your expectations. In essence, the search process, no matter who you choose to hire, is only going to have 4 steps. The first step, specifications, is learning about the community, learning about what the community wants, not just the school board, and getting to a point where you could document it in a very public way. We'll explain about that in a little bit more detail in a few minutes. It gets into recruitment, trying to have a candidate pool that's going to lead to potential candidates that you're going to really, we would hope, have a tough time making a choice. Assessment, in a way that we would get into reference checks far beyond what we would have in our applications, and then the eventual selection and guidelines for how to go through that. So let's start when you get into specifications. Engaging employees and a community. If we were to talk to a group of people in your community, what we would tell to them, your school board has expressed trust in you to have a community engagement process. Whatever you might say, we're going to take down and we're going to present it back to the board. We're not going to use our words, we're going to use your words. By showing that type of trust and trying to get the type of information, we will be able to take down the information that's shared during the community meetings and get to a point where we could create a profile. Now, these community meetings, in all probability, sometimes we'll do 2 full days. We'll work from 8 in the morning till 10 at night. We might meet over 200 people. We'll take notes, and we, at the same time, and we're talking about meeting with each individual board member. We're talking about meeting with your powers to be in your county and city governments. We're talking about meeting with any of your business leaders, any of your parents, any of your higher education, and we will provide all that information, and we, again, probably would be up to 150, 200 people. That's a lot of work. But we also will give access if anyone wants to email us. We also will have an online survey that you're going to have to approve, and I would suspect we could end up with 1,000 people that would give us information on that survey, and we would compile all of that information. That specification and the transparency of it gives you baseline data that you as a school board, who are the experts, you were elected to represent your community. And so you will be able to reflect if that's accurate or not. And the fact that it'll be transparent, if we miss something, you'll know, or people are going to tell you. We haven't found that to be the case. But we do think taking that extra time really sets the stage of the groundwork of the importance of the project and the transparency and engagement that you want to have. And then we get to the point of starting to recruit candidates. So all of these engagement activities, interviewing board members, representatives, open forums, you don't want anyone to say they didn't have access. We give that access. We talk about the online survey. We have access. Now, that's not identified by individual people. That's anonymous. And all the information we take, I will assure you, we don't attribute to any specific individual. We don't want to have that type of situation where people aren't going to be comfortable with us. So if we meet with each of the board members, we won't say, this person said this and this person said that. That's not the purpose. The purpose is to gather information and data points. In doing this, again, the survey and all that, we know it works. Then we get into recruitment, finding outstanding candidates. We have people that review our website all the time, but that's not just enough. We then have to also advertise in national publications and websites, and people know who we are, and we get nominations from a pretty extensive network. Now, you're an attractive school system. Just listening here tonight, there's a lot of people who love to work in a school system that has the type of attitudes and the conversation we had in how you're celebrating things at the end of a long year. So we also have a lot of personal contacts. So even though in many cases some of the contacts were going to be in North Carolina, you want to also see and be able to benchmark, even if you have strong internal candidates, you want to benchmark them against highly selected people so that you can then know who separates themselves and seems to be the best fit for you. When you get into the idea of our vacancy announcement, our advertising plans, all that website, all of these we would run by the person that's pointed to us from the school board, and we wouldn't do anything out there unless it's been vetted and approved, because you're in control. You need to understand that. And we know that that's very important to create that type of commitment and investment so we're all on the same page. When we get into the point of advertising, you got to understand a few things. There are 18,000 school systems in the United States. How many school systems do you think are bigger than 20,000? What do you think?
100.
I would say-
100.
I'd say less than 5%.
2%. So 2%, 360 school systems.
Wow.
That's 20,000. So when you're talking about the complexity of a larger system like this, for somebody that's in a system of 2,000, they could be a great superintendent. So it gets to a point when you're trying to get a match, you're not only looking at great leadership skills, you're looking at people that can deal with the complexity, dealing with your rezoning, dealing with your strategic plan. Now, let me give you a sideline. I would be so proud to have people talk about my strategic plan. I'm president of Cambridge Strategic Services. We've done strategic plans in over 800 school systems over the last 15, 20 years. I've only worked with them for about 10 years. But to have people make comments about how that strategic plan is an investment and how it is not driven by a school board and a superintendent, by an engaged community, is so powerful. So I want to tell you, if we were to be able to get involved in this process and working with you, I can tell you how I would want to celebrate to have that on the table right now is probably the beginning of the entry of what you would want from a new superintendent to continue a baseline that's been so well set up with this engagement. And their job is not to mess it up, but to take it to that next level. And so we get that. So in having those discussions of attracting candidates, we also want to talk to you about salary parameters. We don't want to box you in and say this is a salary that you're going to have here. We would want language such as commensurate with previous experience to give you the idea of seeing where this is, where it's competitive. And we know that you're in a very important fishbowl that you've got to understand what's a perspective has to be all within the range of whatever you already have as what's accepted in your community. You're not going out to pay the highest, but you also don't want to pay the lowest. What you're trying to do is to attract and retain and set the standard with the superintendent of which you want for every other employee in the system. And our usually goal is at least be at the medium of the market. And you owe that for your children. But your data might already have that. But that's the type of information you need to have in this process. And again, we will know what other candidates have, and if someone comes in, we had a candidate one time from Texas, applied for a job and was making $300,000 as a superintendent. And we said, this community is not going to go higher than 200. You're at the wrong place unless you're willing to decide that, because they're not going to do it for you, because that would affect the school board and its reputation in their community. We get that. But we have to have those type of frank conversations. When we get into assessment, and we're talking about all candidates have to put their applications online, they have to give their references, they have to give their transcripts, that's just the beginning. They have to have North Carolina certification. That has to be done. Then we find out who we have. We'll probably, in a situation like this, would have between 30 and 50 applicants. That would probably be what the standard is. We actually have less applicants in the last few years than we've had in the past. It's getting tougher out there. But it's only important that we get the top ones, and it's not quantity, it's the quality. And then we get into informal interviews. Wayne and I will interview each of the ones that we think have the greatest promise at least a couple times. We will never bring anyone in that we haven't been in front of personally, whether we Skype them or whether we meet them personally. And we want to make sure that there's no surprises. We get into deep background, Google checks, social media where it's available, and you're counting on us to make sure there's nothing out there. And I will tell you, when a superintendent is applying for a job, they have a track record wherever they come from, and I'm going to tell you, their publics are going to be just as involved as you. And within 5 minutes after you make that announcement, I can guarantee you, everybody's going to go out there and do their own checking and double check. And we can't have any surprises on that. So we get into these reference checks that go far, far beyond what we have on the ones that are the written references. I haven't found too many written references that don't sound great. But you got to go beyond that. So when we get involved with that and we read between the lines, we then find out what would be the right fit. And again, part of that right fit is also us being more involved in knowing your community through you. But you'll make that determination. Then you get into the point of selection. Here's what we will guarantee you. When we get to the point of recommending candidates to the school board, you will see 100% of the applications. We will go through each candidate that applied, and then we will tell you why we separated the ones that we're recommending you consider to interview. So that type of transparency, if you have somebody that you think we've missed, then we'll go back and we'll do whatever you direct us to, as far as if you want that information. We are going to make a recommendation to you. We think that you should consider confidentiality in this process. The reason, if you're wanting to attract the strongest, best candidates, it's very awkward in the sense of people applying and you end up having public exposure and you put 3 or 4 candidates out there in the public, and all of a sudden that can strain a relationship for 3 out of the 4, except for the one you select. We have seen searches that have not had confidentiality, and we will not find the same quality pool. There's always a pressure in a community to have that type of degree of openness. We suggest the transparency and the openness needs to be on the front end in the identification of the specifications and asking people to continue to talk to board members throughout the process. So there are pluses and there are minuses, and that's a decision that whoever you hire with this, for a search firm, that needs to be discussed on the front end. You can't surprise people after you get in the process and say, oh, by the way, you're going to be out there in public forums, and they find that after the fact. That's just something we think we need to have a discussion with you on.
Excuse me, I hate to can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Because I want to follow you through this process. It was my understanding that all pre-employment application, selection, all of the documents are confidential information. So are you specifically just referring to, once it's narrowed down to a group of whatever number, that if in fact we are going to go public, that it just be known, just that aspect of confidentiality is what you're referring to, right? Because you're not talking about all the other stuff.
When we come to you in closed session with the list of, we call it a slate of candidates, 4 to 6, from the total list of who applied, we will share with the board in closed session every candidate who applied. We will present to you 4 to 6 that we recommend you consider to interview. All of that is confidential information. From the moment they submit the application, until we present them to you. We have not shared that information with anyone else. You receive that information. What Kevin is saying, we're recommending that once you decide who you're going to interview, that during that initial interview, it still remains confidential, because we have to, candidates say to us, is this a confidential search? I'm already a sitting superintendent, I'm thinking about a move. Is it confidential until such time that I might be identified as a finalist? At that point, we say to the finalist candidates, you can expect that this board may contact your board. So confidentiality at that point is not the same, because if you call their board chair or one of their board members, then their name has been revealed. We give them an opportunity to notify their board that they are a finalist. We're still saying the public doesn't get that information yet either. Because, as he said, the candidate pool tends to be much shallower in terms of experienced superintendents, because until I know I'm at least a finalist, I don't want to get into jeopardy with my current board, and that's the reason for it.
We also encourage, when you're getting to a point when you're reaching a finalist, that once we give the recommendations, we step out. We will give you sample interview questions, we will give you anything that you want for support. But at that point, the board might want to have one or two board members talk to the other board and hear it firsthand, not through another lens. So at that point in the process, then it's different. But up to that process, we can ensure a much stronger pool. Again, if we were in a different state, South Carolina, you've got to announce 3 people publicly. If you go to Florida, the minute you do an application, it's public record. If you go to Virginia, though, boards have that choice. Of all of the boards that we have worked with, and you've seen the list that we've already presented, they have had confidential searches.
All right, but excuse me, but Adam, I thought we had a general statute that says that it is confidential, the application, all the pre-employment selection up to the point of the board making the decision when you narrow it down. So would our general statute automatically make it confidential until you got to the finalist?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we wanted to be sure you understood our position based on experience about confidentiality.
Right, but I wanted clarification because I thought we've always been told that it's always confidential. So I guess this is a difference in the state. It's confidential up to the point of narrowing it down. And then even with that, you have to let the candidates know whether they may be exposed to the public in a form of something of that nature. Is that correct? Okay.
So let me take it one step further. We have had 3 of the searches that we did where the board didn't parade the candidates through the entire community, but they selected a representative group who signed a non-disclosure statement and had the candidate interviewed or make a presentation in front of that group, and that group then shared their feelings about the candidate with the board. So we have had that happen in Virginia, and they were sworn to secrecy not to go out and share them.
Okay.
And that's worked, but listen, we're here just making you an overview presentation. If whoever you hire, and if it were us or someone else, all of that preliminary information we would be wanting to cover, and we would get a lot of it from the individual interviews with board members and getting the direction from the board. So a lot of this is premature. We're just trying to explain the process.
Sure.
So in doing this here, and we're trying to provide the information to help you with the interview, and whole part of this process.
Do you see someone up there? You recognize?
How'd you get up there,
Charlotte, what are you doing up there, baby? I said Daryl
Did we
Thomas.
just make
Daryl
you
Thomas.
famous?
How convenient y'all both sit back there.
You need to know that Dr. Harris just loves to play with websites. And you never know what's going to come up here. So, and we might have a couple more, so pay attention. Okay?
He know those 2 will be sitting together back there?
I just picked them out of the.
Too funny.
Isn't that?
Confidentiality broken.
So, as we understand it, time is on your side here in the fact of you determining the timeline for the selection. And a lot of that determines how long Dr. Harrison is going to be here, but you've got plenty of time. We have some places where by law it's 180 days after a superintendent leaves, but all that timeline you're going to need to negotiate. And time is not of essence here. So if you were going to want to hire a firm, you then might want to start something in the fall when you're going to have maximum use of being able to create the greatest amount of engagement. And then your advertising window, it can go anywhere from 2 months to 3 months, and you'll have to decide that. Your interview process, you're going to have to decide that. Now, one question that we don't have an answer to, is there going to be any changeover of the board during the next school year that would cause the decision makers new people to come on board?
No.
So again, that's an advantage. What happens if you have a changeover of 3 board members during the middle of a process? You just have to work at that. So that's not an issue. All of these things, when we're talking about, and on this timeline and how this is going to work, a way of considering it is doing the engagement in the fall, get to the point of the recruitment and success and assessment. When you're going to hire somebody, if they're an acting superintendent, the earliest usually they'll get released is 60 days. Wayne?
In contracts in Virginia, it's 90 days. I don't know what it is in North Carolina. What that simply means is that a board could hold a candidate if he or she were sitting superintendent. The contract says that the board could hold them for 90 days. We've never had that happen. Boards generally they're disappointed that the person is leaving, but they wish them well and they don't hold them. But whatever the contract says, and if it's a person from North Carolina that you would choose, that would dictate how quickly a person could come after you announced them and worked out the contract.
So we've given you pretty much an overview here, and what we're leaving you with, we are leaving you with a proposal. We do have a number in a proposal that would become public record. We get that. Some of you might recall a few years ago, Dr. Bill Simons from BWP might have stood before you. We have not changed that number. It is a fact that we probably will cost more than a school board association because you're paying dues to them. But of the number that we've given you, it's consistent with all the work that we have done. And that's just something you have to decide. Because whoever you're going to discuss this with, you have to decide what's value added. And the thing that we might encourage you as you're going through this process is not taking what we say, call other school board members in places where we've worked and ask them why they made the decision if they think they got their money's worth. We're pretty confident that you're going to find that of the places we've worked, we have really enjoyed a wonderful relationship, and I think we've been able to effectively facilitate a process working for the boards that we've worked with. Wayne, would you like to say anything in closing?
I've just asked all their questions from the board.
Now, did you leave us a packet of a kind with references, and do you have this information he's talking
I think I only
about?
brought one, and I do have it right here, Patsy, and I've not had a chance to look at it.
And it's got
either.
costs?
I haven't looked at it.
It's in, yes,
Yes,
there's
ma'am.
actually a range in the proposal of cost, and the range is there because, as we understand it, the way you would have opportunities for the public to provide information, you do it in the 6 high schools because you have 6 high schools. So it really depends on how many days we would need to be here to provide adequate opportunity for everyone in this community to give us input.
Is it in a format that you can email all of us?
No.
Or, and if not, can you look on our webpage and get our email addresses and send that into our package to each one of us?
Or I can get Marie to.
I will.
Okay.
I will give your board chair
Can Marie just
a
take
web
that?
document and I'll send it to you tomorrow.
Okay, that.
Proposal, I will give to you I will.
Okay, and also this PowerPoint.
I will be
You
happy to
have
do
that.
that.
That's on you have the PowerPoint on the desktop here, so it's a matter, but we can send that to you as well.
Wayne also, before we leave, is going to give you one of our cards, and then you can go to the National BWP website and see the other systems and other places we work.
I just have a question. When you say we, are you our people?
We
You're
would
us.
we would be the ones who would assist you, yes.
Okay,
It's us.
okay, good.
It's us.
What is your experience in recruiting CEOs and non-superintendents? Have you had any experience in recruiting non-traditional superintendents?
We had a really interesting applicant in Falls Church who was working in another school system as an assistant superintendent.
Not in Virginia.
Not in Virginia. And that person graduated from the War College, was a general, had done war games and everything, and then wanted to go back into education. He is one of the few that we've recommended to the board for consideration, because one of the things you find when you are going to get the information from your community is they're looking for someone that has strong instructional leadership. And for people that are non-school, it's very hard for them to have the track record and establish the credibility in instructional leadership if they've never been a principal and they've never been in other positions. However, that candidate interviewed very well, did not get the job, but that happens more as the exception.
We also had one in Winchester.
Yeah, we did.
So we've had two. They were military. One was a lieutenant colonel and one was a retired general. So we've had two, and both of them did get interviews in that first group. They were not selected. We've had other non-traditional candidates in the pools, but we're looking for match and fit based on the qualities and characteristics you say you're looking for in your profile. If they don't match and fit, we're not going to bring them to you.
I'm going to make an observation. This isn't a school system that you want someone to learn on the job. It's too complex. To have someone in your first superintendency, they either are going to have a very stellar track record in a significant system, or they need to have superintendent experience. And a lot of it has to do with your size. You got to get it right. And experience as someone that can work with a school board and has that, you just can't take that for granted. I mean, we spent several years as superintendents, but I want to tell you, those first few years, we were learning. Because everybody that gets to be a superintendent has to get that first one sometime. But in a system that we think has all the many things going on with you, that person that has not been a superintendent yet is going to have a body of work that clearly separates them, that they can compete with superintendents.
There are several experiences that, unless you're at the superintendent level, you will not have.
I think I've done this several times.
Okay.
I appreciate your comments, but
have
my
to
question
agree.
was in terms of what you can provide. What do you have in place to identify someone who's traditionally not a superintendent, if we choose to go that way? That's all I needed to know.
We still, as we have.
Based on the profile that you submit to us, we'll determine who the candidates are we bring to you.
Thank you.
But that'll be open to, and in all kinds, right? Originally.
Anyone who matches and fits who applies,
Okay.
we will determine whether it's a good match and fit, and are they in the top 4 to 6, and that's the group we would bring to you. When you see the whole list, if there's someone else on that list that we didn't say we thought were a good fit and match, it is your prerogative to choose to interview that individual.
Awesome. Okay.
It's your decision. You're in charge. We simply work for you.
Once we've established profile and you all begin looking,
Yes.
if you know somebody out there, they might not necessarily be looking for a job, but you see that it would be a good a good profile and maybe even a good career step, would you encourage that person to apply?
Yes, we would.
Thank you.
How many superintendent search, if you two would be the two that's working directly with us, how many other superintendent searches would you be involved in doing the whatever amount of time frame that we have for our search? on that?
Yeah, that's a good question. We've actually had cases where we have had 2 or 3 going on at the same time, but we were able never to have the timelines overlap. It has never affected the effectiveness. However, if we reached a point where we wouldn't be able to do the type of job that you needed, we would have to not take some jobs. It isn't that, maybe we do 3, maybe 4 a year, but usually they're always staggered. But we're not going to jeopardize the trust that you'd be putting in us if we weren't able to serve you the right way.
Because you're our people.
Yes.
We're great. You just don't know how great we are.
Well, we
You would
learned a
not
lot
want anybody
tonight.
else. Yeah.
The other company, the School Board Association, one of the things that they're proud of is that their search committee is comprised of all these attorneys. What advantages or disadvantages do you see in hiring your company versus theirs in regards to legal part?
Let me answer you this way. Kevin and I have served as superintendent and in almost every other role in the 49 years that I've been in this business, and Kevin has been in this business about 44. We have served in all roles. We have worked with school boards. We have done this work. What we bring to you is based on our experience doing the work and being successful. I'm not able to speak to what attorneys could or could not do.
One of the things, we want to compete on whatever our strengths might be, and we don't want to disrespect any other place. We think School Board Association have a great function and do a great job. I personally think being a superintendent trumps being an attorney when you're doing a superintendent search. That's just my opinion. That doesn't mean that those attorneys aren't very smart people and could do a great job, but we're not trying to.
Yeah, the question really wasn't to say anything negative about him. I was more concerned about the legality. Say, if you looked at the process, the first stage of the process, in terms of whether there are legal issues in there that an attorney and the search firm and them being attorneys would be more knowledgeable versus your experience as a superintendent. That's what I was trying to get at. Because, I mean, I see at the end when you get into the contract and negotiation, that's why we have Adam here. But I've always been confused about the need to have an attorney in the other part of processes
Here's
and
what we
looking
would
for
do.
one.
We ask a series of questions to the candidates. One of the questions we ask is, are there any instances in your background that if discovered, they would be embarrassing or a surprise to us and to the board? We're going to Google search to look for things irrespective of what they tell us. And we say to the finalists, we're asking you to agree to a background check. And that background check is financial, criminal, credentials to make sure that all of their credentials are legitimate. And any other part of a background check that you as the board might want. So what we do is to try to uncover everything we can find out so legally they are qualified and that there are no issues legally. That's what we attempt to do.
Board, we've got time for about one more question. Well, hearing none, thank you so much for coming. Wayne and Kevin, thank you so much for coming here, and you'll get this information to the other board members, and we in turn will get it to the press in appropriate manner.
May I make one final comment?
Certainly.
We subscribe to something that Mrs. Jessie P. Jones, my third grade teacher, told me long ago. Once a task is first begun, never leave it until it's done. Be the task great or small. Do it well or not at all. if we're given this task, we will do it well.
Thank you.
Thank you. You all have a good trip back to your homes.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have M.J. Wilkerson, our Library Director for Alamance County's Libraries. Welcome, M.J. I'm glad you've been patient with us this evening.
Thank you very much. Sure.
So, Mr. Chairman and Dr. Harrison and members of the board, thank you for having me. I'm here to update you all on a program that we started this August and September called ACPL Connect. And this is a program where we are using student ID numbers to establish library accounts for all students enrolled in the Alamance Burlington school system. And what I have given you is just a brief overview of some numbers, as well as the letter that was sent home with students when school started this year. We felt very strongly that the public library is a core value of education as much as the school system is. And we feel like we work hand in hand with what the school system does. And we also understand that at the end of the day, when students, school is closed and it's time to go home, where do students go to do their homework, to do their research, to have access to computers and internet, and this type of thing. So we established the ACPL Connect program and establish the patron accounts using their student IDs. So this year, with the student IDs, students have access to all of our electronic resources. Everything we have, they have access to. We also extended the program to include that students can come to the libraries and check out up to 10 physical items. That can be books, it can be graphic novels, it can be books on CD, DVDs. We changed our policy on DVDs so that if there was a movie that a classroom was studying, they would have access to that. Playaways, any of our materials, they can check out up to 10 physical items. There are no overdue fines associated with that. So if they don't return them at the end of 3 weeks, they're not penalized. Now, if a certain time period goes by and we consider the items lost, then they're charged for that or for damaged items. But for overdue fines, we're trying to make this as accessible, our resources as accessible to students and teachers alike as we possibly could. We worked on confidentiality information because that is as important to us as library system as it is to you all as school board members. And there's a lot of information about individual students that is not for public purview. It has been hugely successful in our first year. And of course, our first year, we're just getting baseline data and information. So in August and September alone, we added 36,417 patron accounts. In August, when the information was imported in from your school system, we added 24,407. We usually average about 1,000 new patron accounts a month. So that made a huge increase in our patron database. I have some fun statistics because librarians like statistics. We saw a huge increase in the use of our electronic resources. So you'll see the information that I've given you. The use and checkout of an electronic book increased. This is year to date from August to the end of April. The checkout for electronic books has increased 53.38%, and our downloadable audio has increased 46.01%. And we fully believe that that's from student use, because we've been keeping these numbers every year since before I started 7 years ago, and we've never seen a jump this high. So your students are using our electronic resources. We also offer databases. ABC Mouse, which is designed for very young elementary school age kids, has increased, its use has increased 80.91%. Tumble Books is one that we have offered and have had great success with and heard a lot of positive things about from teachers. You'll notice that its increase is only 13%. That's because when the licensing department for Tumble Books got wind that public libraries were letting schools have access to this, they sort of put the hammer down on us and said, no, we're going to charge you a lot more for that kind of licensing. But we have a workaround that Jason, my assistant director, is going to be meeting with media coordinators to show them how to work that around that, and so that they still have access to Tumble Books. And in the meantime, we are exploring alternatives to Tumble Books. My most fun statistic that you see on here is the state legislature approved use of funds to start something called NC Digital Kids, and we were able to get that up and running in September or October. And it's a program that's available to all preschool kids, and it's geared for 0 to 4th grade, for 5-year-olds to 4th graders. We are the second highest circulation of those titles. The only system higher than us is Charlotte-Mecklenburg. We are beating Wake County. And all these other, we're just barely beating Wake County, but we're leaving Durham County, Guilford, all these other big school systems in our dust. And it is because of the ACPL Connect program that we have. I'm firmly convinced of that. So we, in the month of April, the figure that you have, we checked out like 1,700 books, and overall we've checked out 3,984 titles. So I'm just delighted that I've got all these public library directors calling me and saying, what are you doing? How are you beating all of, these big systems? And I am firmly convinced it's because the schools, the teachers, and the media coordinators are really pushing that, and we're using that. So only Charlotte-Mecklenburg is beating us in those statistics. So that's sort of my crown jewel there. I'm proud of that. So we feel like this program has been a huge success. Our next steps. We do summer reading programs every summer, and that program is originally designed to be sure that the summer slide or the summer slump doesn't take place. It's supposed to be a program that keeps those reading levels either at level or actually increase the level. It is not supposed to be summer entertainment system. And so we will be looking at reading scores, not individual students' names. We're not going to put any kind of personal information with those scores, but we're going to be looking at reading scores from the end of this year, compare them to reading scores next year to see if our summer reading programs are being effective, if they are doing what they are supposed to do, if they are preventing that summer slide, if they are indeed increasing reading levels. If we find they are not, we are going to totally revamp and evaluate our summer reading program, because the focus of the public library is education and literacy. So we are your partners in that effort, and we feel very strongly that everything we do has to put those two things forward, education and literacy in all forms. So that's what our next step with ACPL Connect will be. So that's an update. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Just an observation. You probably heard, you were here at the beginning, so you heard me reference the article that was in the News and Observer and the Charlotte Observer, the
Yes,
three-part
sir.
series. kids that come from poverty, I think you're helping meet a need there, particularly with media, multimedia type things, computers.
Exactly.
That sort of thing, because in the article I read, it was very obvious that there was more expected of kids in achievement, whether they were high or low poverty. And the low poverty kids possibly did not have some of these resources, therefore that maybe they didn't get into the AIG program for whatever reason. So thank you for what you're doing.
We are very cognizant of the great divide, whether that's a digital divide, a financial divide, or whatever. But as a public library, we are very cognizant of the disenfranchised and the have-nots. And we are here to serve everyone, no matter what, but with a particular eye towards lessening those divides. We are exploring ways to provide internet access to areas in the county that don't have that access. Over this next fiscal year, we are working on putting together a pop-up internet cafe using one of our old vans. We started the Zoom Pass program, which I don't know if you're familiar with, but the other thing about keeping those reading skills going to prevent the summer slide was having access to museums and science centers and art galleries and this type of thing. So we started the Zoom Pass program as an effort for people that could not afford to go to those places to keep those skills up. So I'm very cognizant of the poverty and the impact that plays on education.
And sometimes I lose sight of that, and then I have to come back to reality of what Patsy said. I took a kid to the beach and never been out of Alamance County before.
We forget.
Yeah.
How's the bookmobile coming?
The bookmobile is going to be a couple-year process. We'll start doing some low-key fundraising this summer with part of our Alamance Reads and our summer reading program. We are going to write a $100,000 project grant to submit. We submit the letter of intent next November. We'll submit the grant in February of 2018, and we'll know if we get it in the spring of 2018. Depending on what happens on the federal level I'm going to throw a lot of alphabets your way, but IMLS is the Institute of Museum and Library Services Division, and under that is a funding called LSTA, which is Library Services and Technology Act, and that's where we're writing this $100,000 grant through the LSTA. If all that gets cut out of the federal budget, then we're kind of back to square one with the bookmobile. But it's going to be a 2-year process because we want to raise the money to buy what we want and what we need. But in the upcoming fall, you're going to hear me go before the county commissioners, give them an update on the grant process and all the fundraising efforts that we will be doing, and then you're going to be sick of hearing about it once fall hits, because I'm going to hit the ground running and push the bookmobile. So it's still in the works. It's still on our radar. It's just that our timeline has been a little more spread out. But we're still working on it.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Monroe. Welcome.
Good evening, Chairman Van Pelt, board members, and Dr. Harrison. Our community members continue to really provide a lot of gifts for our schools, which is truly a blessing. Even their donations this particular period alone is amounted to $28,116 in donations just for this period alone, so which is a good thing. 10 gifts have been received, and they are: Harfields Middle received a donation of $4,686.02 from the Kiwanis Club of Mebane. The funds will be used to purchase Chromebooks for the math classrooms at the school. Western High received a donation of $1,000 from MapCorp of Burlington. The donation will be used to support entry fees to world competition for the robotics team at the school. You saw that earlier. Western High received a donation of $2,500 from Alamance County Farm Bureau of Graham. The funds will be used to purchase items needed for the FFA program at the school. Southern High received a donation of $2,500 from Alamance County Farm Bureau of Graham. It will be used to purchase items needed for FFA program at the school. Broadview received a donation of $3,330 from Glen Raven Mills of Glen Raven. The funds will be used to purchase passes for the 8th graders' trip to Washington, D.C. E.M. Yoder received a donation of $4,686.02 from the Kiwanis Club of Mebane. The funds will be used for instruction on technology supplies at the school. Eastern received a donation of $4,685.90 from the Kiwanis Club of Mebane. The donation will be used to purchase additional Chromebooks for the school. Woodlawn received a donation of $4,686.02 from the Kiwanis Club of Mebane. The funds will be used to purchase Chromebooks for the school. South Mebane received a donation of $4,686.02 from the Kiwanis Club of Mebane. The funds will be used to purchase Chromebooks for the school. And the last gift, Garrett received a donation of $4,686.02 from the Kiwanis Club of Mebane, and the funds will be used to purchase technology for the school. Currently, the grand total is for this year, $264,663.40.
Read that figure again, please, sir.
$264,663.40.
Just one more, on Broadview, the little over $3,000 from Glen Raven, that was for their Washington trip?
Yes.
Wow, thank you.
Do I hear a motion that we accept these gifts?
I'll make it.
Second.
You have a motion, second, any discussion?
Would it be possible to get a summary of the private gifts from last year? I'm just curious to know, after this meeting at some point, just year over year, how private gifts.
Yes, I can get that for you.
Great, thank you.
Provide it for you.
You get that and share it with the board, I appreciate it.
Sure will.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further comments? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you, Dr. Monroe.
Thank you.
Always good to see you.
Always a pleasure to be here.
Particularly when you're bearing gifts.
Indeed.
Okay, I believe we're now ready for a motion for closed session. Ms. Gant.
Mr. Chair, before you do that, I'd like to make a comment.
Certainly.
I'd like to go back to the superintendent search presentation. I withheld my comments because I wanted our friends to leave and I wanted to give the MJ a chance to go. But I just wanted to give the board another option to think about. We've heard two presentations and we've used the School Board Association before and we've talked about this other firm that we almost selected them last time. And I think either one of them would do an adequate job. There's a lot of debate in the community each time we do this about whether we should hire a consultant and what their value are. And I think they do bring value to the table in going through the process. But I think we're sitting in a unique situation right now in the sense that we have access to a resource that I think that we could utilize heavily in this regard, and that's Dr. Harrison. I don't mean to surprise him like this, but I just wanted, I know we're going to come to the work session, we're going to talk about possibly voting on these two organizations, but I just want to ask board members to be, in the interim period, just be thinking about a third option. I mean, we have Dr. Harrison, who was uniquely selected for a former governor to be the CEO of Public Schools in North Carolina, and sat as the chair of the state school board. And, you know, he has a unique perspective in what type of profile of a superintendent we would need in Alamance County, and certainly has a lot of networking and access to folks. So I just think that without spending any money on a search organization, we could do quite well by having Dr. Harrison consider his network of contacts and have folks contact him who know him, and let him bring this board 3 or 4, 5 candidates for us to interview and select from. And I know some board members know some superintendents that perhaps we'd like to reach out to specifically, and maybe we could add those to the pool. And between the two, we could probably have a pool of 8 or 10 or 12 people to consider. And I just don't think we would go wrong, and that we could find a highly qualified candidate for our school system utilizing Dr. Harrison as a resource. We ventured from the search process last time and ended up with Dr. Harrison, and so I just want to throw out that we have an opportunity here to utilize him as a resource in this, and so just like for everyone to think about that, and maybe we can talk about it further at the work session.
I think we could talk about it at the work session. I think we have heard two groups, and that's certainly an idea. And I don't think it's one, since I've been on the board, that we've seriously considered, but we have mentioned it over the years.
I have some comments in that regards.
Go ahead.
You want to stick something in your ear? Or you're not going to take it personal?
I won't take it personal.
Okay, good. Wow. I thought what Tony was going to say was with the expertise that we have here, and as he says, some of us sort of have a general idea of people that we're kind of interested in and would like to talk to. I didn't think he would, in fact, basically say, allow the superintendent. I think one of the things that's very, very clear in regards to the duties of the board, the most important thing we do is the selection of the superintendent. And that's why we were elected by the public, to be able to do that. I would have some serious reservations of allowing our superintendent to be a part of a process that is supposed to be confidential. We respect any recommendations that he might want to make, but clearly I don't believe that his recommendation should share any more weight than any other recommendation from any other board member. And to direct or to delegate the authority in the general statute down to our superintendent, it seems like there's something unethical about that. There'd be clearly should be, wait, let me finish. I'm not saying you're saying that, I'm just saying, I think there should be a clear delegation of authority.
Before you respond, make sure you understand exactly what I said.
Okay, well, you make it clear
I didn't say
there.
superintendent make the selection.
Well, even recommendation.
Green does candidates for us to interview.
Well,
it's different than what you're portraying.
Okay, there's already been some conversation in the community about Dr. Harrison has the right person for this board. Okay, so I don't even want to go there. I really want it to be clean. And of all due respect to Dr. Harrison, I don't think he would want to be involved in the superintendent search. That's not a duty of the superintendent. That's a duty of the board in all due respect. However, if he came to me or you and said, you know, this person I've been watching over a while, you know, you might want to see that person is interviewed, I would respect his opinion, but in no way would I want him to, the way I heard it from you, whether you meant it that way or not, take on that responsibility. That's clearly a responsibility. However, I do agree with you, before we start talking about selecting either one of those firms, that we as a board need to sit down and say, do we really need them? And what exactly are they going to bring to us that we can't do ourselves? Through whatever means that might be, consulting with Dr. Harrison, other members, other superintendents, or whatever the case may be. Some of us, this is the third time around in this, and I think we have some knowledge as to how to do that. So, no reflection on Dr. Harrison in that he's not able. Yes, he is, but I just believe that according to the general statute, that's one of the things that this board does, and we should clearly not delegate that to our superintendent.
Okay, board members, let's do this. Be sure that BWP is going to send us their proposal via email. We have the one from the State School Board Association. Tony made a suggestion. We need to read those two that we'll have in hand and think about what Tony said. And at the June 5th work session, we will begin a discussion, and hopefully, perhaps we can even make a selection. Or if not, we can find another search firm, or look at a third search firm. But my goal is to have something in the month of June where a company or a process that we can move forward with. And that said, Ms. Gant, do you have a motion for us?
I make a motion, we enter a closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A3 to preserve attorney-client privilege and 143-318.11A6 to consider confidential personnel information protected under North Carolina General Statute 115C-319 and 115C-321.
You're a second.
A second.
Okay. A motion second. All in favor of going to closed session, let be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are now in closed session. In open session. Ms. Madron, do you have anything for us?
Yes, sir. I have 3 items. We'll start with the first. We present to you the May 22nd personnel report, amended personnel report, and request your approval at this time.
Make a motion, we accept the personnel report as presented.
Second.
A motion second. All in favor of the motion, let be known by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Okay. Second, I present to you a list of one-year contract renewal recommendations for the 2017-18 school year.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Okay, and last, present to you a recommendation as principal at Broadview Middle School, and present Yolanda Anderson as principal at Broadview Middle School starting July 1st.
I'll make the motion, we accept that recommendation.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay, we have 2 nays. Motion passes 5-2.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion second to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.